This week's seam finish will be French seams.
Alright, and like I said, today's video will be on French seams. Now there's a lot of different variations to the French seam, like the drapery French seam or the false French seam. The one I'm going to show you today will be the traditional French seam. Now French seams are appropriate for light or mid-weight fabrics, especially fabrics that ravel lots. You don't need a French seam for a fabric that doesn't ravel. I assume you could probably use one for an aesthetic choice, or if for some reason you needed bulk at a seam, but they're really intended for things that ravel and fray at their edges a lot. Now, the other thing that I've noticed a lot of people tend to try to do with their French seams is use them in curves. That's a no-no. French seams are designed for straight seams. I mean, if you have very, very gentle curves, you can get away with them, but they're really not meant for hard curves, and it actually makes the seam less durable overall if you try to put a French seam in a place where it doesn't need to be. Now, when you do a French seam, you're going to use up, sorry about my cat being noisy, shh, quiet. You're going to use up about 5/8, about 15 millimeters of your seam allowance. So you want to make sure you provide yourself with enough seam allowance when you're cutting your fabric. Now I tend to shorten my stitch length a little bit for French seams. Rather than 2 millimeters, I tend to drop them down to 1.5 millimeters, just because they need to be a little bit tighter in order to be just a little bit more durable. But that also depends on your fabric. That is not a hard and fast rule. That is not a rule that you can definitely get away with breaking it, is what I'm saying. Now the first stitch that I'm making is going to be about 7 millimeters, so about 3/16 of a in empirical or imperial measurements, or whatever you crazy kids are calling them these days. And again, just a nice little straight stitch. Okay, and when you do that stitch, you're going to want to stitch your wrong sides together. That is the back side of your fabric, not your right sides, not the sides that are going to show on your final product, your wrong sides. Okay, so you get your nice little stitch, and then and again, ideally you would be doing this with an iron, but you press that seam open. And I know this is time consuming, and a lot of people skip the part where they press things with their iron, but your iron is your friend, and if you use it and if you get to be, best friends with your iron, your sewing is going to look so much better in the end. It's going to look so much cleaner and more professional. Name your iron, love your iron, be friends with your iron, is what I'm saying here. Unlike Kodo, who probably doesn't own an iron. He's a bad person.
No, I do. I just have it in containment.
Okay, so once you have that, and now your wrong sides, if you notice, the wrong sides are together, and our seam is right along that edge, pressed open. You're going to do your second line of stitching, and this is going to be at 10 millimeters, 3/8 of an inch. So in the end, you've used about 5/8 of an inch of fabric. And frankly, you don't want to use less fabric than that, because you're making your final product less durable. So that's a French seam. And when you open it up, that's what it looks like. See? Thank you. Have a great day.